This Father's Day weekend, we're targeting one of the Florida's most unique and tastiest fish hiding in plain sight, Bree.
Known for floating like trash and hitting like a truck, these fish love structure, warm water, and a well-placed shrimp. We're talking Tripletail on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We've got some great reports this week, and our favorite captain is back after a little birthday fun. But Rick, we're continuing to celebrate you and all the dads out there for Father's Day.
How cool is that? You know, birthday weekend, and we got Father's Day coming up.
And Tripletail.
Tripletails,
So
you know,
fun.
One of the most tastiest fishes you're going to hear from all of our captains. What I really like about them is that they are very diversified. We find them in the Atlantic, we find them in the Gulf, we find them shallow, we find them deep. And you're going to hear all those tricks and techniques on how to catch them from all our guys in just a minute.
All right, I can't wait. Well, we're also saying hi to our guest from Phillips and Jordan a little later, but let's go to our favorite workbench wonder, Dave Farrell. Tripletail's on the menu today, Dave, and you're going to tell us all
anytime
about
that the Tripletail are on the menu, Dave Farrell will be at the table.
Dave Farrell's
All right.
always at the table.
Well, that's true. But I do love those Tripletail. There's nothing like them. I get asked a lot, what's your favorite fish to eat? And I go, it's a Tripletail.
100%.
There we go.
Top 5 table fare. All right, well, I can't think of a more perfect place dads would want to be this weekend than in the Black Oak LED Keys region. So, Rich, take us fishing.
You know, when it comes to Tripletail fishing, I can't help but get hungry. Italian breadcrumbs and baked beans are the way to go. Tripletail is another fun way to learn how to sight fish, and they can be caught inshore and offshore here in the Black Oak LED region. You're going to want to use light tackle Fenwick rods, and when you're offshore, look for the Tripletail floating next to debris and big patches of sargassum weed. And on the inshore side of things, you're going to look for Tripletail floating on the surface, on their sides, or near structure like trees or crab trap floats. And they'll be either blacked out with a slight olive green tint to them or grayed out with red and pink rashes, depending on if they're spawning or not. They eat shrimps and small bait fish like pilchards or cut ballyhoo or squid, and they will also eat artificials like gulp and lime truce, bass assassin paddletails. Be aggressive with your cast and pay attention to the current because it will affect your presentation. Make your bait look as natural as possible, sliding it to the fish, and chances are he's going to sink down out of sight and then attack it from below. Don't get discouraged if they sink out. More times than not, there will be another opportunity very close by. I have a photo of my client Elizabeth Johnson with a world record Tripletail on 8-pound tippet. That fish weighed in at 8.5 pounds right here in the Florida backcountry Keys.
Nice. All right, tell me about the redfish, bub.
Redfishing all over the backcountry of Florida Bay right now. Look for the redfish rumbling in big schools on tops of the flat and the backs of the rays in pairs. Fish the mid-tides and throw bass assassin, 4-inch sea shads, or elite shiners in bone, pink, or lime truce. Rig these baits weedless on an eagle claw weedless hook because the grass is really bad. And you're going to want to throw a Fenwick world-class rod in medium fast 7 foot 6 inches blank. This will help you cast those light lures a long way, and I have a photo sent in by Captain Wiley Berg of a father-son combo, Dave and Everett DeLue, and a nice pair of redfish.
Nice. All right, let's go offshore.
Mahis are still everywhere from 400 to 1,700 feet of water. The schoolies are being caught all over the charter boat docks, all up and down the Keys. Look for the mahis on weed lines, debris, and under birds. When you get into an area with mahis, troll some R&R mahi magnets on your 30-pound conventional rods and have some spinners ready with 40-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 4.0 Eagle Claw live bait J-hook ready to cast some live baits to fish that may be following the one that you have on. For live baits, throw pilchards or cigar minnows, and if bait is hard, you can also use dead ballyhoos or frozen squid. You want to have an R&R D-hooker ready to shake off the short ones and get them back into the water to try and survive. And I have a photo sent in by Captain Sammy Milazzo at a Worldwide Sportsman on the vice versa with a nice rack of mahis.
You also have
I have another photo of Harper Bachman with a nice mahi that won top junior angler in the 45th Nuka Dolphin Tournament down here.
All right. Let's go talk about the yellowtail. Some snapper action, Ridge.
Yeah, man. If you're not wanting to run all the way offshore, but still have some dinner to catch, yellowtail fishing on the reef has been really good. Yellowtails from 60 to 90 feet of water, with the occasional mangrove snapper mixed in. Anchor up or spot lock with your Rodan trolling motor and start chumming a mixture of chum, oats, and sand. You're going to use light tackle Fenwick rods with 10 to 12 pound mono on your Penn reel, and you're going to use small cut baits like small chunks of bonita, squid, cut ballyhoo, or even shrimp. Remember, guys, that yellowtails are 12 inches and 10 per person to your snapper aggregate limit.
All right, Ridge, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the scientific angler hotspots from the Florida Keys region. Ridge says that inshore, the snook fishing all over Florida Bay and surrounding islands of the backcountry. Look for the snook in the moats, the potholes, and on the edges of all the flats. Throw Bass Assassin plastics because the grass is certainly bad. And then offshore, yellowtails with an occasional mangrove, chum with frozen chum, oats, and then some sand and 60 to 90 feet of water. Use small chunks of cut bait on your light tackle rods to catch those yellowtails.
All right, Rick. Well, let's dive on in and see what tournaments are going on in the Florida Keys.
Yes.
First, we have the University of Miami Sports Hall of Fame Celebrity Fishing Tournament set for June 19th through the 22nd in Isla Mirada with notable sports personalities in attendance. Cash prizes are on tap for the top 3 teams, catching the highest combined weight of 3 mahi-mahi. Then, new rules this year allow anglers to fish 2 days without separate registration for each day in the annual VFW fishing tournament in Key West, with $15,000 going to the team with the heaviest mahi. Next is a winner-take-all grand prize of up to $25,000 to be awarded to the team that posts the highest aggregate weight of 3 mahi after the June 25th through 26th Isla Mirada Fishing Club Captain's Cup Dolphin Tournament. And finally, cash prizes await the 1st through the 4th place anglers and the top junior, female, and PBA member anglers in the Florida Keys Police Benevolent Association Dolphin Tournament that takes place June 27th through the 29th at Stock Island. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com. But you know, Rick, now we're on the hunt for some tripletail plus some other fun inshore and offshore species in the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region. So let's see what's keeping us casting.
What you got, Ronnie?
Captain Ronnie Houston.
Well, I can tell you what, guys, with all this rain that we're starting to get right now, things are really starting to change in the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region for the better, especially on the inshore side. But you know what? The tripletails, they can be caught throughout the whole entire region, both on the inshore and offshore side. Now, the offshore, some locations would be wrecks, artificial reefs, maybe some floating debris, but a lot of the times you can run the crab pots and find these fish. Now, near shore, inshore would be your head pins, maybe your park boundary markers. A lot of times guys overlook the tide lines. Blowdowns and deadwoods and debris along the mangrove shorelines have become real popular over the last couple of years due to all the storms. But mostly tripletail, you know, they're located near some type of structure, either on top for sight fishing or below the surface near the structure. Now, presenting bait ahead of them and bringing it up to them is the best way. Or if you're blind fishing, scent and sound may draw them to the surface so you can sight cast them. That baits of choice can be live pilchards, finger mullet, shrimp, artificial shrimp and paddle tails, bucktails, but believe it or not, just about any small cut bait presented to them, to me, seems to work better than any live bait presented to them. But always when you're fishing for the tripletails, you want to make sure whether you jig head or hook, strong hooks are recommended because they are tough fish. They can run, they're going to get near the structure, and they'll straighten out a weak hook quick, so I recommend a strong hook. And I've got a picture this week of Captain Chris Broom with a tripletail recently caught here in the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region.
Nice.
Now, on the offshore side, the red snapper. Now the red snapper season's open with many days to fish until the end of the year. You know, guys are telling me that 150 to 250 foot of water from Fort Myers to Beach to Marco seems to be the key. And the number of the bigger fish seem to be in that 200-foot range. If you're looking for personal best, that 200 seems to be the key for fish 20 pounds plus. But you want to start working at about 150, working your way out. And once you find these fish right now, limits can come really quickly. In 10 minutes, you know, you can limit out real quick on the right pile of fish. But you want to make sure with the currents I've heard about this week, anywhere from 6 to 10 ounces of weight might get the job done. 40 to 60 pound leaders. And guys are using a variety of baits like live pinfish, grunts, herrings. Cut baits have also been working. Squid, sardines, cigar minnows, as well as anywhere from 150 to 200 gram slow pitch jigs. And I've got a recent picture of a red snapper that was recently caught just at the beginning of red snapper season while I was fishing with Captain Davis also.
All right, let's go.
Now that's going to change things a lot because of the rain we're getting, and it's for the better over here on the northern end of the park. Captain Danny Latham reports mangrove shorelines and independent islands to the north and Pine Island Sound starting to dingy up that water. An area of zones of roaming mullet combined with high water has been best for him, especially on deeper shorelines. He's using live pinfish, live shrimp, or cut ladyfish and mullet. But at the southern end of the region and the middle end, Estero Bay, concentrate your efforts on that higher water on the wall, working the same pattern. And now here to the south, with all the rain we're getting, Goodland down to the Everglades, you want to concentrate on the tides at the last half of the AM coming to the first half of the outgoing on your outer Gulf Islands. You might want to concentrate on areas of deadwood and oysters. You can chum live pilchards, live pinfish is working, cut baits like mullet and ladyfish, or you can use the 4-inch turbo shrimp. Half-ounce gold spoons now that the water's starting to get a little tannic. But for me, the Berkeley J. Walkers is probably my best bet in mullet or pilchard in color. I've got a picture of a recent redfish caught while fishing with Captain Danny Latham up in the northern end of the region. Last species is going to be the snook. Now, I'm getting great reports for the last couple of weeks all through the region with these fish moving in. But now with this rain, I believe we're getting ready for a good spawn. Concentrate your efforts right now from Gordon Pass to Indian Key, fishing the passes and points with current. You can fish blowdowns and beaches at the higher water. Now, the fish are eating live pilchards, they're eating pinfish, herring. Cut baits, especially knocker rig. You want to get in that zone. Knocker rigging is going to keep those baits stationary. Percent also. Plenty of artificial choices. The Bass Assassin Artemis shad, darker colors in the cleaner water. My favorite is going to be the Berkeley J. Walker 120s. You can use artificial Bass Assassin shrimp and paddle tails or upgrade to 3/4-ounce gold and silver spoons due to the bait coming through. And I've got a picture of a nice slot-sized fish recently caught. And I'll tell you what, when I work those Berkeley J. Walkers, the best combination for me to make that lure work right, you got to have it in the right cadence. I'm using that new world-class Fenwick. 8 to 17 medium seems to be the best. If you don't know how to walk the dog very well, that rod combination with that Berkeley J. Walker, it's a no-brainer. Won't be tough to figure out. And if you ain't clacking, you ain't jacking these snooks. Got to get the right cadence, the Berkeley J. Walker.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Ronnie, for all that. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region. He says inshore, tarpon, Indian Key to Wiggins Pass. At the passes along the beach, the bridge spans using a variety of live baits and 5 to 8-inch swim baits. And then offshore, permit, Stump Pass to Wiggins Pass, fishing wrecks using some live crabs. What do you think, Bree?
Well, I think I can't believe I've never heard him say, if you ain't clacking,
You ain't jacking.
Okay. If Tripletail is on Dad's species bucket list, then it's time to get ready for rigs and techniques at the CCA Workbench with Dave Farrell.
Yeah, we're going to show you a lot of the stuff that these fellows have been talking about how to catch these Tripletail. Some of the little jigs and whatnot.
Oh, we're going to get jiggy with it. And then we're taking a look into the Panhandle region with none other than Patanine. So stay hooked and we'll be right back. Clacking and jacking.
Clack.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. ACR. Less search, more rescue. Scientific Anglers. Failure is not an option. Penn. Let the battle begin. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, it's time for one of my favorite parts of any Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're here at the CCA Workbench, and guess what, Dave? We're talking about catching tripletails.
Yes, sir.
Let's get right into it.
I love catching them. They're, up where I live in Orlando, Cape Canaveral area is a great place to catch them. A lot of the world records were caught there. Troy Perez, one of the guys there. Scott Lum, another guy. They just catch a lot of really
Big ones.
big triple tail. So it's a great place to go fish for them. The triple tail, he's the ultimate ambush predator. He makes himself into being a piece of flotsam, and tries to make shade for the little fish, and the little fish come and he nails them. He'll either be the shade himself, or he'll get right up on close to something else that's the shade,
right.
Like a bucket floating in the water,
right.
Buoy. That's where we catch them most of the time up where I live, and Canaveral's on the buoy line. But they'll also congregate on shallow water wrecks in the surf. We used to have a tuna wreck up there, a tuna boat that had wrecked, and it was like in 15 feet of water, right past the surf line. It was always loaded with big triple tails, and you could catch them with just drop a live shrimp on them and destroy them.
Right.
Now, the shrimp, that's one of their favorite things to eat. That's probably why we get so many triple tail up in the Canaveral area during the wintertime, is we have a huge white shrimp population. And that's when the triple tails move into our area. They like that, 70, 75 degree water. So, and they're eating all those shrimp. But, the big ones will float out there by themselves. A lot of times the tiny small ones you'll see in big schools up on a pile of line or under a thing of sargassum or something like that. But they'll usually be associated with structure of some kind, either when they're a big fish or they're smaller. So, a lot of the biggest ones I've ever caught was after a day of trolling offshore. As we're coming in, we come across a big mat of sargassum. We'll just motor up to it real slow and see if anything will take off. Because what happens is you'll get up on that sargassum, and, sometimes they'll either swim out to you. Sometimes they get very curious, and like a cobia,
right.
And they'll come to the boat,
right.
Which is great,
right.
Because then they're usually wanting to eat. But sometimes they'll just peel off and head down into the depths. And you can drop stuff. You can drop a jig down there. And sometimes they'll eat it when it's out of sight. I mean, I've caught them on whole ballyhoo before that I've been trolling all day and just dumped it out underneath those things. And a big triple tail can eat a whole ballyhoo very easily. But most of the time, the fish that you're targeting are probably 5 to 7, 8 pounds up on the surface, and they're going to be eating those smaller jigs like that you were just holding there,
right?
The bass assassin, curly tails, and any of the she-shad. But they also like crabs. You got a Savage Gear crab there, that mimic crab. It's a great crab. Little tiny hooks in there, but they're strong enough to catch a bigger fish.
Right.
You heard a couple of the fellas say you want to use a pretty strong hook. I like to use a live bait hook, because the live bait hooks seem to have a little bit more beef to them. You can get up to, 5 aughts or something.
L118.
Right. I also like to use the Circle C's as well.
Circle C's as well?
Yeah, because a circle hook pretty much takes all the guesswork out of it. And the way that a triple tail eats, he comes out from underneath the structure, grabs your shrimp or your little bait fish or whatever, and then heads off back under the structure. And all you have to do with a circle hook is just close the bail and let him hook himself. It's a great way to do it.
Right.
Whatever kind of casting you're doing, or if you're using live baits or even these jigs, you want to put it as close to the fish as possible. A lot of times they'll tell you, not to bomb a fish. Don't splash it right on his head. But a lot of times a triple tail won't eat anything unless it's right in his face.
Right.
I mean, you either want to cast it to his face or have it drift right by his face. Because
what size rod do you like using?
Well, this pin battle up here is a great one. It's a 7 foot. I think it's a 17 to 25 or something like that. It's a great
8 to 15. You're right.
It's a great size for them. Your regular old bass stuff. Or
what
even
would you
your
load it up
stuff.
with as far as a braid goes? You're going to want braid,
Berkeley,
right?
Yeah, Berkeley X9. I'd probably put 20 pound on it.
Yeah.
You catch every freaking triple tail that swims with that.
And trace of fluorocarbon?
Yeah, I use some Prospec fluorocarbon, either 20 or 25, up to 40, because we catch a lot of the bigger ones up where I live. And those triple tail, if they're around any kind of structure.
And they get big, what happens to them? They turn into prehistoric razor blades.
Yes, they're all around. It's a buzzsaw completely all around them. So they can cut line, and their gill rakers and their gill covers are very, very sharp. When you go to clean one, wear some gloves, because all their dorsal fins, all their anal fins and everything are very, very sharp.
Very sharp.
And thick. When they go in you, they don't break off. They just punch a hole in you. But they're really such good fish to eat.
Yes.
Such good fish to
Yeah, I
eat.
keep
They
saying
are
that.
prehistoric looking.
Fish-
They're wild.
They are.
Fried fish
Next
fingers.
to flounder, I
there's
think
nothing better.
I think triple tail is pretty prehistoric looking. All right, it's the perfect time to go triple tailing in the Panhandle region. So let's see where we should focus our efforts with Captain Pat Deneen. Hello, Pat.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, yes, it is a perfect time to be triple tail fishing in the Panhandle. And like Dave was just saying, man, I love me some triple tail. They are some really cool fish, and also one of the best eating fish around. I mean, they look so slow and passive until you hook one, and they can show you what they're capable of. In the Panhandle, we catch them inshore and offshore. You know, as Dave was mentioning, offshore we find them around rip lines or just floating structure or whatnot. But primarily, if you're going to target triple tail in the Panhandle, you're going to be fishing inshore, and you're going to be heading to Apalachicola Bay or Beale Bay. I know Mobile's Alabama, but it's a short shot from Pensacola. In Apalachicola Bay, the waters around St. Vincent Island, West Pass, Indian Pass are all prime triple tail areas. And there's some pretty strong rumors coming from Pensacola area of the East Bay system and those upper bay systems, and Pensacola being a fairly dependable triple tail fishery. And like they're targeted during the summer months, with right now being prime time. We're finding them on the floating objects, so over in Appalach. Run the navigational marker lines, the buoy lines, and the crab float lines. A float rig with a small live bait, like a shrimp or a pogie, is prime, 2 to 3 foot a leader. And there's some big triple tail caught up here, up to and over 20 pounds. I think Apalachicola and Cape Canaveral are probably pretty much the prime time triple tail areas in the state. Staying inshore, the tarpon are throughout the Panhandle, and it's been pretty good. There's still more fish to the east. It's pretty early in the season, but the migration is definitely happening, and they're coming from the east, going west. They're going to usually be just out beyond that outer sandbar, that second sandbar, out to maybe about to where the color change, as far out as the end of the pier. Early is best. It's usually calmer in the morning until about 1 or 2. The sea breezes start kicking up, or you start getting afternoon thunderstorm or whatnot, blow you off the water. Be nice to the fish, stay away off of them, and I'm using 50-pound leader, 50-pound fluorocarbon lead, a 7/0 circle hook, and then 30-pound braid on my spinning rods. I'm using cigar minnows, herrings, filters, any kind of small Gulf side bait that I can find or get from Steve, the bait guy. And lately we've been having a lot of smaller fish in that 50-pound range, which is pretty cool. They get caught a lot quicker than a 140-pounder.
That's for
and
sure.
There's a pretty cool photo there, Wes. Rick, check it out. This is Wesley Schrankel from Fort Worth. He's been trying to get this shot to get in the water with a fish like that for the last several years. Monday was perfect weather for it, and we were doing that, and a manatee photobombed him. It came down the beach and swam literally right up to him. So manatee's in the picture there as well.
That's cool.
That is pretty cool. Moving offshore. The blue marlin and pelagic fish has been really good. There's a lot of good water offshore, and there's a lot of bad water offshore. The spur, the DeSoto Canyon area is full of really, bay, dark green water, not what you want to be fishing in. But to the west and southwest from there, there's a lot of really good cobalt blue water that's pushing up hard against that bay water, that green water. And where you find that push is where you want to be. So satellite imagery, or better yet, network with other offshore anglers that've been out there on a regular basis to find out where this moving target is. Sharing information is critical. It's not like a bottom spot where that spot stays in one spot and you get over harvested. I mean, the trolling spots are always moving, so the information exchange is good. I like to troll a mix of natural baits and artificials. I tend to have the bigger baits short, and the bird or a daisy chain on the center rigger. And there's been some big blues that have been caught lately, in excess of 600 pounds.
Whoa.
There's a photo there of that river rip that I was mentioning. I mean, you can clearly see the green water on one side, the yellow brick road down the middle, the blue water on the other side, and that's where you want to be trolling your spread.
Nice. Good example. Thank you, Pat. Tell us about the groupers now.
Yeah, red grouper, Rick. This summer, for some reason, there's been an abundance of red groupers around. That's primarily on natural limestone bottom, 80 feet of water to maybe a couple 100 feet of water. The natural bottom area southeast of Destin and southeast of Panama City, prime red grouper area. They're getting caught on live or dead bait soaked on the bottom. So pinfish, bonita strips, octopus. Make sure you just keep your lead close to the bottom, but the slow pitch style pole jigs are also doing really well. The like I said, there's a lot of red groupers around. There, a lot of them are short right now, so you kind of cull through them. Make sure you've bent them properly to release them. But there are some big ones around as well. And Zach Murray from the Destin area, he sent in this photo of an absolute garbage truck of a red grouper caught off of Destin recently. He's submitting that for potential world record status. So there are some big ones out there, folks.
All right, bud. Thank you. Great report this week. Thank you so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the heroes on the water hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says that inshore, set up on the quiet section of Cape San Blas or the Tyndall Air Force Base, and sight cast a migrating tarpon with flies and unweighted soft plastics twitch-style baits. And then offshore, use satellite and other sources and head to the strong color changes to the southwest and troll the rip for billfish and other pelagics.
Which I just want to say, love that photo for those of us that might not know what that looks like.
Exactly.
Yellow Brick Road.
Yes.
That's all you got to find.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you know that Tripletail can be entered in the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha? Oh, yeah. Catch a legal Tripletail, take a photo on your measuring board with the star identifier in the photo, and enter to win a Yamaha 250 outboard. Pretty awesome, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, did you know that if you catch a CCA Florida Star tagged redfish, you could win a Carolina skiff, Seabourn Center console, spider, boat, or microdraft skiff? You can, but you don't want to be like the last two anglers who caught them this summer. They were not registered or a CCA member, so they did not win one of these awesome boat, motor, and trailer packages. Wah, wah. Don't go fishing this summer without being registered, or you will end up like them with tagrets.
Wow.
Go to ccaflstar.com to get registered. All right, well,
Please.
We're just getting started for your weekend of dad celebrations, so stay with us for our Northeast Region Captain. Plus, we're chatting with our friend from Phillips and Jordan. Then we're seeing how the Central East region is making memories with Captain Jim Ross. But quick before we go, we do have our live studio audience and annual kids show next week, so it's your last chance to get signed up for all the fun. Make sure you just scan the QR code on the screen. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Guy Harvey, every purchase helps support the health of our oceans and marine life. Penn, let the battle begin. Kubota, together we do more. And Heroes on the Water, paddle, fish, heal.
Well, as you can see, joining me now is Matt Edson, from the Vice President of Phillips and Jordan, not just from Phillips and Jordan. But you know, Matt, a lot of people that may be watching, they might not know who Phillips and Jordan is. So why don't we give us a recap of what you guys do and who you are?
Yeah, national heavy civil contractor, roughly about 1,800 employees around the nation, primarily focused in Florida and Texas right now. A large section of our work and a sector of our work has been water storage and water quality in both states, and that's a big focus for us.
I know one of the projects you guys did was the sewers, water, and all that stuff down in the Keys.
Yeah, in a past life I did that, wrapped that project up in about 5 years and served about 6,000 homes down there, and worked my way back up into the Everglades region and
made
to the West Coast.
Made a huge change for the Florida Keys, just like you're now, the C-43 project. Huge change for the state of Florida. So why don't we tell everybody what that project's about?
Yeah, the C-43 BOMA project is a water quality test cell project. Just wrapped it up in the 2024-25 year. And this project gives the district the ability to test multiple ranges of water quality treatment areas in a very small space. So we're taking water out of the Caloosahatchee River.
Right.
We can pull that water into here, and they can try work with different technology in individual cells.
Right.
Whatever works best, we can use that information to tune the rest of the stormwater treatment areas around the state, so you really get full beneficial use out of those, pulling that nutrients out as much as you can.
And so in the end result for us, that means less pumping east, less pumping west?
Yeah. If we tune these STAs just right, these stormwater treatment areas, and we learn how much water we can send them, when we can send it, both east and west and south, that gets less discharges to the east and west and pulls more of that water south.
So that's the goal, is to make you help to feed the water to the Everglades.
Clean water going south is what you want. That's the goal.
All right, so what do we have? We got big news for things that we've done in 2025?
Yeah, other than wrapping up some big projects here, we've got a couple more that we've recently been glad to be awarded. Taken over that we just got awarded the Lake Hickpachee project, an expansion project just across from the C-43 project we're showing here. It's another FEB stormwater treatment area expansion. Just got the first phase of the Miami Canal, which is widening that canal so that we can take more water south out of Lake Okeechobee. So that was a big deal for us.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I guess the next biggest news for us is rebranding going into 2025. So Phillips and Jordan, after 77 years of Phillips and Jordan, is now Phillips, all under Phillips family of companies. We will be Phillips Heavy Civil, Phillips Power, and Phillips Environmental.
Wow.
So big year for us, big year.
Man, you got a lot of stuff going on.
We do. We've been very fortunate.
Well, we're grateful to have you guys as a partner
Thank you.
here on the Florida Insider Fisher Report. I know we're looking forward to working with you guys in Texas.
Yes, sir.
But Bree, it is time for another region, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Well, the Northeast region isn't your typical triple-tail target zone, but Captain Tommy Derringer is giving you your best shot. Thanks again for helping me host last week, Tommy. You made it so easy.
Oh, no, you guys did, man. You and Dave and the rest of the crew, Nicole, everybody, man, you guys make it so nice. So thank you so much for having me down there. It's always a pleasure. But I'm sure everybody's glad to have Rick back. Happy birthday again to him, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Well, thank you, Tommy.
You know,
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for filling in for me, Tommy.
Yeah, man. Anytime. But yeah, the triple-tail. Kind of like Bree said, the Northeast region's really not known for its triple-tail, but we do catch them occasionally, and we catch some big ones. Those bigger fish are going to be caught during the spring, usually along the beach, when the water temperature is somewhere in the upper 60 to lower 70s. We tend to see them around the same time the cobia and the manta rays are migrating through the region. We do see them along the beach and just offshore through the summer months occasionally. If you find some floating debris out there, it's always going to be worth a look. Just like I'm sure the other captains have reported, those triple-tail are going to hang out around any kind of floating debris. Sometimes the commercial crabbers, they'll set some traps out in the surf. That doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, man, we can have a great run of triple-tail. Just about every crab trap buoy out there will have a triple-tail on it or under it. You can also catch triple-tail in the intercoastal waterway. You can target those crab trap buoys, dock pilings, channel markers, just about any kind of structure, and you might get lucky and find one. And my clients and I have caught quite a few over the years as a bycatch when we're just fishing for redfish. We're using popping corks along the grass lines or something like that at high tide. And we happen upon a nice triple-tail, and that happens year-round. Now, live shrimp tends to be the best bait, but we catch quite a few on small saltwater assassin paddle tails and other soft plastics as well. Triple-tails, man, they're so much fun. I love them. They're typically really aggressive fish, both on the bite and when you're fighting them. And they're definitely one of my favorite fish to target if they're around. And, I had a client catch one on a channel marker recently. We released them. He swam to the front of the boat. I'm not kidding. A minute later, I had my other client cast, and we caught him again. So they're very aggressive fish. And I have a picture here. I don't know if I've ever actually used a picture of myself on the show before, but I thought this one was pretty cool. But I was between charter trips this day, going out to catch some bait, and I saw this guy just floating in the middle of the intercoastal, and I flipped him a saltwater assassin paddle tail, and he ate it. And then I ate him.
So who took the picture?
They're delicious and they're fun to catch.
Who took the picture? Who took the picture?
That's with my selfie stick automatic timer. Yeah, man, I got the selfie stick skills when I need it.
Oh my God.
All right, so also inshore guys, the tarpon, the bigger beach tarpon have been fired up this week throughout the entire region. If you can find the bait, pogies in this case, you'll most likely find the tarpon. I did get a quick report today of some cooler water temperatures on the beach, some upwelling, so look for that. But really, the early morning bite has been best as things are getting hot, to say the least, at about 9 o'clock after the sun comes up for a bit. But also the post-thunderstorm bite has been really good. Those tarpon, if you can get out there right after one of those big storms roll through the region, those tarpon will get fired up. Just be careful. Pay attention to the radar. Those storms have been popping up. We've been getting a ton of rain here lately and some nasty storms. But just net some of those pogies, then free line or float them around those pods of bait. I like to use a big Eagle Claw circle hook, like a 7 to 10 aught circle hook with 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader. Those trocars that Rick's holding there are awesome. They're super sharp. I'll sometimes go with a 10-foot or even longer leader, especially if the water is clear. These tarpon have big old eyeballs, and sometimes you're going to get a faster bite with using a longer leader. Now, moving offshore, guys, the mangrove snapper bite is in full swing with the full moon we just had. I spoke to Captain Jimmy Laidler, and he tells me they're wide open in those 120 to about 140 foot depths east of St. Augustine. Chumming is always a really popular way to get those mangoes up in the water column. They're in spawn mode and they're grouped up, so there's some big schools. You just simply send a chunk of like a sardine back there with the chum as you're putting it back. Use a small little 1 or 2 aught circle hook. You're basically just trying to make it look like a piece of chum, and they will eat it. And there's a bunch of them around. And I got a photo here. And this is a serious haul of some snappers and a few others there as well from the guys fishing with Captain Jimmy Layler aboard the Legend. He is the snapper master around here, man. He kills them.
Wow.
Now, also offshore guys, the kingfish, they're also pretty wide open, especially on the nearshore reefs. You know, slow trolling pogies around structures that are holding bait out there are going to produce some nice kingfish right now. Those kings have also been on the beach, but again, look for that upwelling. And this weekend is the old school kingfish shootout. I know you guys have been talking about it. It's a really cool event. Those teams are going to stay within state waters, which is about 3 miles out. Again, just find the bait and you're going to find those kingfish. The pogies on most days have been pretty tight to the beach, and there's been some big kingfish in like 25 feet and less of water. So don't be afraid to troll pretty close. And I got one last photo here. This is Emily with a nice kingfish that she caught with me recently out there at that 4 mile reef out of St. Augustine. That's about 4 miles offshore.
I like the pigtails, man. What a way to end your report. That was cool. I liked it.
I agree. Love the cowgirl pigtails.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you so much for the pictures this week, Tommy. We're going to go and take a look at the strike zone hotspots. He says inshore, tarpon and huge jack crevalles along the beach in the pogie pods. Get out at first light or just after the afternoon thunderstorms for those poons and big jacks. Offshore mangrove snappers schooled up on the reefs and wrecks in 120 to 140 feet of water.
All right, well, dads deserve the best on their day, and if we're talking tripletail, you really can't beat the essential East Region chase with Captain Jim Ross.
That's right.
Jim, what's going on, man?
Oh, it's another day in paradise, and you know, tripletail in this region are generally pretty big. We get some of the largest fish, or have historically got some of the largest fish that you will ever see. Most of the world records, current world records, have come from this area with fish well in excess of 30 pounds. Now, this is obviously a little while ago. I even myself caught one on a fly rod on 8-pound tippet. I caught a world record tripletail about 22, 23 years ago, but Andy Mills has since surpassed that one. But tripletail are just a lot of fun because they can be extremely aggressive, but you know what? They can also be frustrating, just like other species, and they can be very fickle. One of the things that keeps me on my toes and gets me digging way down into my captain's bag of tricks to make them bite is there's actually 2 things that I do. One of the things I love to do is just give them a free-line live shrimp. Sometimes we use a jig head, sometimes we'll catch them down near the bottom on a slide and sinker rig in a shrimp. But a free-line shrimp is really hard to beat. And 2, if you're using an artificial lure or a fly, you can never let them smell the bait or the lure. You can never let them come close enough to smell it. They will swim up to it and they will actually sniff it before they decide to eat it. And if you let them sniff it, it's game over. So either put some scent on your lures or don't allow them to do that. So one of the things I'll do is if they're on the structure, you pull it past them. If they start to follow but they don't commit, pick it up, take it away from them, throw it back past them, because they're going to turn around, go back to the structure again, and then you can pull it back off and give them another opportunity as it goes by them. Typically, if you do that 1 or 2 times, the 3rd time they'll actually just slam it. Now, a 4,000 size pin reel, a bang, that bang shrimp from Assassin shrimp flavor is really good on a jig, and a 7-foot medium heavy action Fenwick rod. It kind of completes your tripletail combo. Most of our tripletail are pretty good size. Here's one that I caught and put back in the water here earlier this year. Like I said, 68 to 72 degrees water temp is really where you want to try and target these fish the best, but we do have them year round. And for the guys that are fishing for them in the summer, look for them along the dirty water edge just outside the surf break. That's the most common place that you'll find those fish transitioning from place to place up and down the coast, is right on that color change. Now, my second species offshore is dolphin, and it continues to be pretty interesting out there. Guys are trolling R&R mahi magnets, chin-weighted ballyhoo, skipping ballyhoo, and live baits like pogies and other things, pilchards and things like that. But here's what's interesting. 70 to about 140 feet is really where the bite has been the best for them. We've had some cold water this is actually the 2nd week in a row that we've had cold water. And so it's really interesting the way that it swirls around and pushes fish around. But right now, the pyramid-style reefs, I've been catching some dolphin on the pyramid-style reefs out of Canaveral in 75 feet of water. I've actually been targeting cobia on these structures, but I'm running a float line and the dolphin will just swim up and hit it, or you'll see them swim by the boat and you can just, throw a pitch bait to them. Now, most of our dolphin are not real big. They're 22 to about 28 inches at the fork. So you can either net them and put them back in if you don't want to keep them, or if they're up around that 27, 28 inch mark, then they're pretty good to keep. I know 20 is the legal limit, but that's an awfully small dolphin. I typically put those littler ones back in. Now, swinging inshore, our speckled trout bite in the middle and southern portions of the Indian River this week are doing really, really good. These waters were, pretty tough to fish over the weekends because there's a lot of heavy boat traffic last weekend, and the next couple of weekends there probably will be too. So midweek trips are going to be much better for targeting these big gator trout. Live croakers, live pilchards, and live mullet are your best bet. And you can also throw large topwater plugs, or one of my favorites is the 5 or 7 inch assassin jerkbait. Those soft jerkbaits in the albino, the gold pepper shiner, or the native shiner color seem to work best for me. And I like to target them around spoil islands and other areas where large mullet are congregating or schooling up. So most of our bigger Space Coast gators are running 4 to 8 pounds right now. Got another picture here of a gator trout that we got on a live croaker near Palm Bay the other day. So
Boy, you sure did. That's a good one. Tell me about the snooks.
Last species of snook, and I just can't say enough about the snook. When those fish, they're closed to harvest right now, but they are just so fired up at the inlets and the beaches. You can go down to the beach right now and just fish the troughs or anywhere that there's rocks, from Cocoa Beach all the way down to Vero Beach. If you find pilchards, mullet, or pogies real tight to the surf line, you're gonna find snook around them. I did that, in fact, today. I was actually at the tip of the Cape today. There's a bunch of mullet, silver mullet at the tip of the Cape. There was redfish and snook all under them. So you guys and gals just run the beach until you find the bait. And one of the things that's interesting is we'll throw diving plugs, we'll throw spoons, we'll throw jigs, but the magic grass colored 4-inch saltwater assassin is probably one of the best snook candies, if you'll use that term, that you're ever going to use to target those fish in the surf. I don't know what it is about that color, but they really like it. And I rig that on a 1/4 ounce to 3 ounce jig head, and when the surf is calm, and I run it on a 1/2 ounce jig head if it's a little choppy. You want to cast at a 45-degree angle, no matter if you're in a boat or on land. Cast at a 45-degree angle to the shore. That way you're in the zone longer, and it looks more realistic than casting at a 90-degree angle to the surf.
Tell me about the picture, Jimmy. I got to go to the
something
picture.
Interesting here, Rick. The pink that flamingo flash color. Mm-hmm. Second cast with the first bait I pulled out of the package the other day, and we put this one in the boat. So pretty doggone fun to have that new flamingo flash color from Assassin. Be able to just throw it out there and just get one that fast.
Amazing color, I think. All right, thank you so much this week, buddy. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspot. He says snook at the inlets and the jetties and the beaches use a saltwater assassin magic grass colored sea shad on a 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce jig head in the surf, or a live pilchard, pogie, or a croaker on a sliding sinker rig near the jetty rocks. And then if you guys want to go offshore, king mackerels near the bay pods in 30 to 50 feet of water, slow troll live mullets and pogies on a wire stinger rig for fish up to 30 pounds. Come on now.
All right, well, Rick, during PTS Awareness Month and observing our Independence Day, we celebrate the freedom our heroes fought to protect. Unfortunately, many veterans and first responders are still fighting battles that we all can't see, but with a monthly gift, you can help provide peace, purpose, and healing through Howe's restorative kayak fishing programs. As we observe National PTS Awareness Month and Independence Day, consider becoming a lifeline to restoration. Join the Honor Circle at heroesonthewater.org.
PTSD is no joke.
All right, we're getting in some last-minute gift ideas for Dad with Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench for Taco Marine new products. Dave, could you imagine anything better than a bucket full of your favorite goodies?
No. I
well,
cannot.
You're gonna give them the goodies.
Although these things are pretty cool here. These an oldie but a goodie coming back.
All right, we're throwing those in the bucket for Dad. We'll be right back. And
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Black Oak LED. Never be left in the dark.
Well, it's time for the Taco Marine Troll the Edge new products here at the CCA Workbench. Dave.
Yes, sir.
We're going to start off with a little Starbright love.
Yes, we are. We're going to start with that marine foam deck and pad cleaner. You know, everybody's putting, these decks down now, these foam decks down on their boats, cuts down on the heat and the noise and all kinds of stuff. They're really cool. But, if you get blood and stuff on
Fish
them
slime.
and you go down there and try to scrub it, you can mess that stuff up. And this is really helpful because when you spray it on there, you don't have to use a whole lot of scrubbing to get all the stains and stuff off. It lifts it by itself and uses that nanotech, to lift the dirt out, that chelating action.
Right.
Same kind of stuff they use for their non-skid deck cleaner, which is my favorite of all time. It won't mess up the texture, the glue underneath the pads. It's non-acidic, it's biodegradable, and it's great for, if you got that deck on your coolers, on a casting platform, any place where you got that EVA foam, probably be good for your rods.
Right.
And so you just spray it, let it soak, and then just rub it off, and it does a really good job of bringing back your sea deck.
Where do we go to find it?
You go to starbright.com. It's made in the USA.
That's nice. All right.
Next, we have the Bass Assassin, the 5-inch KO Assassin. They made this bait in like 2004. They kind of got away from it, and now they're bringing it back. It's a perfect bait for these forward
facing sonars.
Correct, and it works great if you wacky rig that thing. I mean, first cast I put in my backyard. I caught a fish on it.
Nice.
I mean, Jim said he caught one on first cast.
So it falls like this, and then because it's rigged wacky style, you got all this jubilation on both sides of the hook.
Exactly. Those two big lobes out there act like, a weight. And when you have a weight in the middle and those two on the outside, as it's going down, it's just bouncing.
Yeah,
as it starts to sink.
Nice.
And it's just a great bait. It dances all the way down with those twin lobes there.
Nice.
And that fat midsection where you can.
Where do we go to find that one?
Bass Assassin.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about Scientific Anglers, the magnitude.
This is the Amplitude smooth redfish that comes in two different versions. They got a warm version and a cold, in case you're, fishing in a place where it's colder. It's the highest performance smooth fit fly lines in the world, 5 times less drag, and 8 times the durability of traditional smooth fly lines.
So they're half size also. So like this is a 9, it would work on a 10 weight rod.
Right. They're made a half size heavy, so you can deliver those larger flies.
And what I like is that it's a 30-foot taper, and then it goes to another 70 feet of just running line. So it's designed for long distance shooting.
Right.
All right, scientificanglers.com?
Correct.
All right, tell me about this pin rod there, Davey.
Last but not least, we have the Penn Prevail 3. This is the inshore spinning rod. This is a 7-foot medium light, 8 to 15 pound, extreme fast action. That's a great light inshore rod there. 100% graphite on those inshore specific models. Some of the heavier versions, the bigger ones, have a graphite composite blend. One-piece stainless Duro guides. I love these guides that don't have inserts in them because, inserts outsert a lot for some reason.
Yes, our knots go
they do not stay in all the time.
Have a tendency to knock our knots out.
Exactly. So, these have premium cork grips on here, graphite reel seat, just a really good, sensitive graphite rod at a pretty low price point as well. So
you did a good job
go
over
to
here this week. It's good to be back by your side, my man.
Yes, sir.
All right, Bree.
Lots of good stuff, gentlemen. All right, the Startron Central West region has quite the tripletail bite if you're doing it right. So let's get a step-by-step plan for when the occasion arises with Captain Jeff Page.
That's a good lead off there for me, Miss Bree. And that's what it is. Our real tripletail season begins right after October 5th, and that day is special because that's the day they start putting all the stone crab traps in the Gulf of Mexico from Boca Grande all the way up to Egmont. There's thousands of them. And what you want to do is after a couple weeks that they've soaked in the water, pick a depth of water. I like to start in 20 to 25 feet and just run those crab trap buoys until I start seeing fish. The water's usually still real clear. You're going to see the fish. And then the key thing is the approach of the crab trap buoy once you've gone by. It's a good idea if you have a trolling motor just to ease up, get that wind at your back, make your presentation, and bring that line right down the crab trap buoy and let that bait drop right on top of the fish. It can be a pinfish, a shrimp, a pilchard, a fly, a slow sinking gulp shrimp works real well. But the key is to allow that bait to drop right in his face. Sometimes they'll wrap you in the line, but it's not a big deal. You usually can get them out. And then up in the bay sometimes, Rick, we have them down on the bottom of markers and poles where you don't see them like you do out there on the beach. But they're there, and you just have to use a little split shot time to get it down to them. My photo tonight is of Billy Alstrom with one of the biggest triple tails I've ever seen caught over on this side.
Wow, that is a big one. That Billy's quite the fisherman. All right, what else we got, Papa?
All right, we got mango snapper. You know, it's a full moon. I think my wife said it's called the strawberry moon this month. And a lot of guys got the weather playing into their hand, Rick. They've got their pilchard, they've got their shrimp, they've got their pinfish, and they're going out anywhere 70, 80, 90 miles for those big mangs. But you don't have to go that far. I was told by a couple captains anywhere from 70 to 150 feet, hard bottom areas and ledges. And like I said, it's a good idea to bring a mixture of bait along with some chum bags. I've got a mango picture tonight of Captain Josh Pruner with a young angler, happy with a daytime mango snapper. Moving inshore tarpon. I know you guys tarpon bites in full swing down there, and it is up here too. And this full moon's been really good. We've had 2 nights of it so far. So the fish are probably going to move out and do a little spawning, but it's still going really strong right now. And the cool thing is, Rip, if you don't want to get up early, you can go in the afternoon, dip your crabs, and then go set up on the drift. Boca Grande Pass, Big Pass, and Egmont Pass have all been producing good fish. My tarpon photo tonight is of Rusty Driver, and that's a 40-inch girth fish he caught that took the win for week 3 in the oldest tarpon tournament in Sarasota. Wow. That's Doug Ford doing the face grab for him. My last species tonight, snook with a full moon. Again, the snook are all in the passes and on the beach, and they're even eating the crabs on that flushing tide. But the guys have been doing real well with silver mullet and ladyfish, and I've done really well myself with the bigger jaywalker in the bone pattern around the oyster bars of Long Bar and Palmasola Bay. And my photo tonight's with a good one I got by Manatee River.
Wow, Captain Page, you still got some, baby. I love you. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hot spots and my man in the big line cider. Captain Page says, inshore, tarpon, fish the afternoon outgoing, hill tide with free-aligned or cork crabs in just outside of Boca Grande or Egmont Pass. And then offshore, mangrove snappers, good nighttime mangrove bite on the ledge in hard bottom areas off of Venice, north to Anna Maria, and 70 to 110 feet of water. Live pinfish or a pilchard is gonna work the best.
That Snook and Page got you all jacked up.
And
all right.
that triple tail, he's just
It's amazing.
I mean, big fish night for the
That was a lot of
Central West.
emotion in that photo.
Yeah, man.
All right, Floridians, if you're dreaming of blue water and big game, then listen up. Right, Rick?
That's right, Bree. The 44th annual Key
He's dreaming.
Marlin. I was thinking about those big fish. It's set for the July 23rd and the 26th during the heart of the legendary Hemingway Days in Key West, Florida.
Last year's tournament reeled in a whopping $268,000 in cash payouts from the Marlin and Fun Fish divisions.
You're absolutely right. Wow. So guys, guess what? Bring your crew, bring your family. Key West is calling.
Yes, get all the details and lock in your spot now at KeyWestMarlin.com. But you know what? We're seeing what the dads are reeling in this weekend in the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region, and then keeping our eyes peeled in the Northwest region with Captain Jeff Hageman. Wake up!
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, conserving Florida's fisheries since 1985. Frontrunner Boat Works, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
All right, when it comes to the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region and Tripletail with Captain Jimbo Thomas, you go big or you go home or you just keep trolling, right, Jimbo?
That's correct, Bree, and hello, Rick and Dave. Yeah, most of the Tripletail that we find here in the Southeast region, we're generally offshore and we find them on floating debris, and it's basically a bycatch while we're out there dolphin fishing. And more often than not, those ones that we see out there, they're not real eager to bite. And I don't mess with them unless they're obviously big. We see a lot of them, but unless it really stands out as a big one, we don't even mess with them. Now, a small live bait, such as a pilchard or a chunk bait, put right on the Tripletail's nose, that'll sometimes get a bite. And I'm sure that if you had some live shrimp out there, that would work, but I don't usually have those on board the Thomas Flyer. Now, for some reason, we generally don't find them on the trap buoys like they do in the Gulf, but they are occasionally found along the shorelines of Biscayne Bay and the ICW around sucking branches and logs. And the few times that we found them inshore, those fish were eager to bite, just like the ones in the Gulf, and we've used a live bait, got it right on their nose. But one thing we have been catching is some mahis, and that has picked up in the last week. We've been finding schools of dolphin anywhere from like 5 to 15 miles offshore. You might find them closer or further out. But the problem is a lot of these fish have been on the small side. So we've been picking through those fish, keeping the legal ones, tagging and releasing the shorts. When you hit a school, typically the larger ones are going to bite first. They're the largest ones because they're the most aggressive. And then once that size starts to shrink, we move on looking for another school of fresh ones. And most of the schools, they've been under birds and also around scatter sargassum, and they've been traveling to the south. And they haven't been too finicky once we find them. We've been getting them on the troll with rig ballyhoo and small lures. Once we do get on a school, we've been pitching small live baits and also cut bait. And there's also been a few larger fish caught under birds and debris. You just got to get lucky finding that big one. Now, I got a photo here. These are the ladies of On the Water Daily Fishing Team with the dolphin that they caught with us aboard the Thomas Flyer last weekend during the South Florida PBA fishing tournament. We had a great day, had top lady angler there.
Nice.
Now, before I go inshore, I want to talk about the CCA Star Tournament. And recently, CCA released 50,000 juvenile redfish into Biscayne Bay, and then 115 larger ones, and then 4 of those, and then 4 extras that had Star Tournament tags. So you want to get registered for the CCA Star Tournament. If you're lucky enough to catch one of those Star Tag Reds in Biscayne Bay, you can be eligible for a piece of the $500,000 in cash and prizes that is up for grabs there. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the sea trout, bub.
All right, then we got sea trout still being caught in pretty decent numbers on and around the grass flats from Rickenbacker Causeway north to Hulliver Inlet. There's been lots of smaller fish, but there's also been some big ones mixed in close to 5 pounds. Now, the bulk of them are being found on the flats that are holding schools of small bait, anywhere from 4 to 8 feet of water, and they're being caught on small live baits like a pilchard, herring, or a pinfish. You want to fish it under a popping cork, or you could use 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce bass assassin or gulp jerk baits in the 3 to 4 inch range. And then on the high tides, the fish, they've been on top of the grass flats, and as the tide falls, the potholes and edges of those flats have been productive. Got another photo here of a big sea trout caught by Tom fishing out of Miami in North Biscayne Bay with Captain A.B. Raymond. And then we got catch and release snook fishing in the inlets. And the snook, they're schooled up in all of the inlets throughout the region. They'll be caught mostly on live bait, a pilchard, herring, croaker, pinfish, mullet. You want to fish it near the bottom. Jupiter rig's always a good way to get it down there. And a lot of these fish have been big, up into the 20-pound range. So you want to use at least a 50-pound fluoro leader, 5/0 to 6/0 circle hooks. And if you don't have any live bait available, you can try bouncing flare hawk jigs. or 4-inch Bass Assassin or Gulp jerk baits along the bottom. Both the incoming and outgoing tides have been good. You want to fish early in the morning or late in the afternoon into the evening. Got another photo here of a giant 43-inch snook caught by Caleb Shatlows. He's from North Carolina, and he was fishing in Biscayne Bay with Captain Greg Hutchinson.
All right, thank you, Jimbo. We're going to take a look at the ACR hotspots from the southeast region. Jimbo says that inshore fish North Biscayne Bay grass flats with live, small live pilchers for the sea trout and mangrove snappers. Head offshore for in search of mahis 8 to 15 miles out under the birds, floaters, and weed lines for the mahis.
All right, well, our Northwest region captain has a step-by-step process for you when it comes to hooking up to our species of the week and then some. So let's see how it's done by the Hag. What's up, Jeff?
Tripletail. Had a blackened tripletail sandwich today. One of my favorite as table fare goes. They're also fun to target. Sight fishing around floating structures like crab trap buoys, channel markers, any kind of floating grass or debris. They'll sit right behind that and wait for bait to come to them. So driving blue crab or stone crab trap lines when they're out is a popular way to target them. You can get elevated as you're driving down it on plane. I try to stay like 30, 40 feet away and drive the trap lines. If you see one, just keep running by them. It won't spook them. And then come back around to them, get on your Rodan trolling motor up to them, get a little stealthier on your approach when you're going back to fish them. As far as catching them goes, any kind of cork with a shrimp or a sardine under it works really good for them. Anything that imitates an artificial shrimp will work really good. Also, fly rod's a great way to catch them. And just drive those trap lines. But when you're driving the trap line, run by the fish. Don't stop. Don't change your RPM. Just keep going by them. Go by them 100 yards and then turn around and make your quiet approach. Staying offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports on triplefish, also a great eating, triggerfish, also a great eating fish. Right now, he's targeting them over the hard rock bottom in 140 to 180 feet of water, using small pieces of squid on a 2 to 3/0 trocar circle hook, a 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, and 6 ounces of lead. Another great fish to eat. Moving on inshore, Captain Jim Pollard with Big Daddy Sport Fishing, reporting good snook bite right now and redfish bite along the beaches. On this moon right now, all the fish are in the passes and right along the swash channel on the beaches. He's just running down that beach edge and targeting those big snook in the morning hours as they're cruising down the beach, casting into them with live sardines, 4 feet to 5 feet, a 25-pound fluorocarbon leader, and scaling down as that sun comes up to anywhere to 15-pound leader if it's super, super clear. 2/0 circle hook. And I've got a couple photos of some snook. We took a break from tarpon fishing this week.
Nice.
We caught a couple snook, and then I've got a nice Tampa Bay snook from Captain Jim that he caught along the beach there.
Nice. All right, is that it? You done?
Nope, I got one more. Captain Bobby Brady out of Steinhatchee reports great fishing right now in Steinhatchee. 5 to 7 feet of water is where you're going to find the trout, using a 1/2-ounce jig, 5-inch jerk shad. Those Gulp jerk shads work really good. White chartreuse are some of the favorite colors. And I got a photo that was sent in to me of a little fan of the show, Carson Costello, age 11, with a Tarpon Springs trout caught on a popping cork under a shrimp.
So, you took a break from the tarpon fishing. How is your tarpon fishing right now, Jeff?
With the wind, it's been really hard to see them. The wind on the beach is making the beach fishing really tough. It's making the flats tough. It's blowing out south pretty much every day. And we got a lot of whitecaps, which makes it hard to see for sight casting. Bass fishing's been really good, but as far as the beach fishing goes and the fish on the flats, it's been a little tougher than usual, but there's plenty of fish in the bass, and they're still biting.
You think it's a little bit late? Meaning, it seems like in the Keys they're about 2 weeks behind schedule. Agreed?
I think they are too. We're still having fish trickle up from your area to our area up here. So we're getting still migratory push.
Right.
But they spawned a little early, and then the first group of them went out and spawned a little early. They came back in, but it does seem like we're 2 weeks behind on everything. The water temperature, I think, has something to do with that.
Yeah, they had a little minor hatch down there at the bridge on the last new moon, but the full moon, I'm expecting it to go crazy in the next day or two. So thank you for the report, Bub. We're going to go and take a look at the Discover Crystal River hotspots from the Northwest region. He says inshore, redfish on the top of the tide and the beginning of the outgoing tide. Look for the mullet schools. Cut bait and live sardines are going to work for the reds. And then offshore, mangrove snapper bite has been consistent in 25 to 65 feet of water. Over high relief structures, use shrimp and small pinfish on a knocker rig.
The moon just makes everything and everyone go crazy.
I'm one of those.
Me.
I'm one of those.
Me too. All
I
right.
turn into some dumb romantic during the full moon.
That's the worst. If you're cruising around Florida, do it with a cause and rock the Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. Your $25 goes straight to supporting clean water, restoring habitats, protecting marine life, and teaching folks about our coastal environment. Get yours at your local DMV or online at redfishtag.com. We're triple checking for Tripletail with our last captain in the Alto Equipment East region with none other than Captain Mike Holliday. So keep casting and we will be right back with your Hopeless Romantic.
Yes.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Fenwick, feel everything. Phillips and Jordan, building critical infrastructure that matters. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Taco Marine, master the catch.
Today's Power Pull tip: did you know you could run your Power Pull shallow water anchors or change all of your charging priority right from a Garmin Fish Finder? If you're running a Garmin GPS map or Eco Map, you have that ability. But what I like to see is my charge data right on the screen. I have the ability to see my voltages throughout the day, and I could change my priority button by simply pressing my Fish Finder. Another thing I like is I can initiate an emergency start if my big outboard won't start, and I will get that engine started and get back to the dock. I can also run my Power Pull anchors. If you have duals, you can run them both at the same time, or you can lift them independently. To learn more about the Power Pull charge and Garmin integration, go to powerpull.com or the Garmin website. And that's your Power Pull tip of the week.
And a good tip it is. The best Tripletail action this time of year in the Alto Equipment East region is inshore. And since there aren't many crab pots, Captain Mike Holliday says, hello, Captain Mike. The fish are on the channel markers. Please continue.
Yeah, that's the big key, Bree. You know, we get a fall and spring run of Tripletail in my region, with the spring producing the largest fish. And this time of year, the majority of Tripletail are on the channel markers, particularly in the Indian River between the Jensen Beach Causeway and South Bridge and Fort Pierce. We also see Tripletail on the offshore weed lines this time of the year. And then in the fall, the most consistent action is on the crab trap buoys and channel markers in the Indian, St. Lucie, and Loxahatchee rivers. And the fish aren't always on the surface. That's a key around here. So a lot of anglers targeting them will just blind cast using a shrimp and either a 1/4 ounce jig head or a saltwater assassin quick cork, and then just throw at the marker, make a half dozen to 8-10 casts. If you don't get a bite, move on to the next marker. On the windy days, you may see them up on the top, but more often than not, you're not going to see the fish. Don't overlook the manatee zone signs or other signs that have holes in the water that will give the fish something to hide behind out of the current. The average Tripletail in my region is going to be 3 to 10 pounds, but fish to 20 pounds are pretty common in my region. I got a photo that Captain Cody Rubner Stewart sent me. Nice Tripletail they caught off a channel marker. Jimmy Fee was the angler there, and that fish ate a live shrimp on a jig head. The other thing, there's been a good push of tarpon out of the Keys this week. We'll see those fish moving through our area over the next couple of weeks. You can target the fish along the beaches, around the inlets, and up in the rivers. Inside places like the Harbor Ridge area, the St. Lucie River, the Crossroads, Big and Little Mud Creeks, and the Harbor Branch Channel in the Indian River. And then on the beach, what you want to do is get ahead of the schools and float back a live crab, a threadfin, or a mullet. In the inlets, those same baits are going to work, but you want to post up on the jetties on the outgoing tides and just float those baits back in the tide. For the inshore resident fish that are up on the inside, a live mullet, a pilchard, or a Houdini colored 4-inch sea shad, those are going to be your top baits. Average tarpons anywhere from 40 to 90 pounds this time of the year. And Captain Chris Britton sent me in a shot of, this is one of 4 tarpon that they hooked in the Indian River this past weekend on live mullet.
All right, let's go offshore, Bub.
Well, you know, the summer sailfish bite is on, particularly between Stewart and Jupiter. There's been a good bite in 80 to 135 feet of water in that range, but the fish are spread out throughout the entire region. You really want to just look for fish along the weed lines and color changes and around the reefs and wrecks that are holding schools of bait. A lot of the fish are in small pods of 3 to 6 fish, so you want to keep a bait in the water after you hook up, and that'll give you shots at multiples. You can also cast a bait at hook fish. A lot of time the multiples are tagging along with a hook fish. You can troll ballyhoo either naked on a 50-pound fluorocarbon leader or slow troll live thread fins, pilchards, or sardines. The boats doing the best are the ones that are targeting the fish. They're using kites and power drifting over large areas. The current's been honking, so when those guys hook a fish, they run right back to the same area where they hooked the fish and then start another drift. I got a photo from Captain Scott Fawcett of Off the Chain Charters. They got this sail off a kite bait, and that fish ate a live threadfin in 134 feet of water.
He sure
and
did.
And then again, the other thing offshore, Wednesday night, last night was a full moon. It had the mutton snapper all ganged up and spawning on the reefs in 65 to 90 feet of water, really from Palm Beach to about Fort Pierce. There's been a lot of fish around the kingfish schools near the Juneau Ledge. They're eating scraps from the kingfish bite that sink down to the bottom. And also on the Loran Ledge, the 6-mile reef, and the 65-foot ledge just inside the offshore bar south of Fort Pierce. For bait, it's pretty hard to beat a pilchard, a sardine, or a cigar minnow, either live or dead, or a grunt plug or ballyhoo plug. You can also use a ballyhoo and jig combination or a jigging spoon. And the average mutton right now is going to be 5 to 15 pounds. There's going to be some big ones in the mix. And Captain Charlie Stew with Jupiter, he sent me a shot of a big mutton. They got that fish in 80 feet of water directly off the Juneau Pier.
Tell me about the bass, Mike. I'm dying.
Yeah, man. You know, if you like to fish schooling bass, then the Butler chain of lakes in Orange County, that's the place to be right now. I was talking to Captain Steve Niemiller of BassOnLive.com. He said he's seeing acre-sized schools of bass. They're up on the surface chasing shad in those lakes in the Butler chain right now. There's 13 lakes. There's not a lot of big fish. Most of them are in that 1 to 3 pound range. And in a 4 or 5 pound fish is a huge fish for that area. But what's been great is that the fish are schooling and feeding all day long. It's not just a morning bite. But if you're on the schooling fish and the bite slows, you want to drive around, watch for busting fish in other areas of the lake or diving birds. Don't be afraid to move around from lake to lake and to find fish that haven't been worked over. And the fish are feeding well on shad. So small blue and white topwater plugs, small prop baits, white spinner baits, Bass Assassin forward-facing sonar or split-tail shads in the shad colors. Any of those will work. Live shiners are good. You're going to do that, bring 10 dozen because you're going to go through them. And, mostly small fish. That's what the Butler chain's got, but you'll get lots of action right now.
All right, what are you doing for Father's Day quickly?
Working.
All
like
right.
everybody else. I'm taking a family out fishing, which is what I always do on Father's Day.
All right, man. Well, thank you. I hope you have a good time. Give those babies my love. We'll go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. He says, inshore, spotted sea trout on the flats around the mouth of Big Mud Creek. Live shrimp, topwater plugs, and saltwater sass shads is going to work for them. Offshore, jumbo kingfish in 90 to 120 feet of water off of Juneau. Drift with live sardines on a triple hooked 40-pound monofilament rig.
He's working to support all them kids. You know
I
what
know,
I mean?
that boy, he got lots of babies.
Lots of babies. All right, Rick, I think it's safe to say Father's Day weekend is going to be a great success on the water, whether you plan on cruising, fishing, or catching. It's all about making those memories. But stay with us a little longer for your Seize the Social and next week's theme. It's going to be crazy.
Crazy? All right,
We'll be back.
can't wait. maybe.
All right, so next week we are talking kids fishing. It's our annual kids fishing show. It's gonna be crazy, fun. Who knows what's gonna happen? Just a bunch of stuff like this. We just never know what's gonna happen.
Man,
all right,
Dave.
Before you hit the water, hold on.
Okay.
Let's dive into Seize the Social. Your best Florida fishing moments from the Gulf to the Glades. Before we get digging into some meat, let's see it.
All right. Let's see it. Wow. Look at this dude's
Are you
casting.
kidding me?
Look at this.
That's insane.
No way. How much practice do you think that takes, Rick?
I think that's all he does.
I think you're right.
It's gotta
That's
be
his
the
job.
only thing he does.
That's his
Look
job.
at us
You
in
know
the
what?
bottle.
He's probably making a ton of money on that too.
I hope so.
Wouldn't want to be against him in a bet. All right, if you saw a fishing reel you'd like to share and be featured on Seize the Social, scan the QR code or drop them in your DMs. Okay, now what is this?
So what this is my good friend Mike Prosick from the
It's a ribeye is what that is.
Prosick's Smoked Meats in Texas, Hillsview, Texas. Guess what?
Yeah.
He sent you a little box of love. He sponsors the Texas Insider Fisher Report.
Summer
He
sausage.
sent Bree some love
Yes, he did for
for Mother's Day. And now it's me
Cooked
and
up some-
Dave's turn.
It is, and you're sharing
And I'm
ribeyes
sharing.
from Proshek's Family Smokehouse. It's a great gift for Dad. You know, Proshek's
All this
meat.
stuff
Just put it
is
in a
a
big
great
box.
gift for Dad.
It can ship it to you. That's what's
Castaway. Happy
Proshek's
Father's
Meats,
Day.
guys. Go
Tune
to
in
it.
next week. It's going to be a great show.
Oh my God.